write your name at the top of his list. And the Statue of Liberty started shaking her fist. And the eagle will fly, and it's gonna be here. I brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
It's time for Veterans Issues, the show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their family. Now here's your host, Ken Rollins.
Welcome to Veterans Issues. Appreciate that. We are brought to you by the Red, White, and Blue. Today's show is we're going to showboat, or we're going to showcase is the word I'm trying to find. We're going to showcase a veteran and his service. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. I thought I knew something about him until I found out something about him. You're going to be impressed when you see what he's done. So we got Dallas Ricker. And so you stay right there. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here, and today's guest is Dallas Ricker. He's a former first sergeant. We used to call him Top. I called my first sergeant that, but that was in the Army. He was in the Marine Corps. Welcome to the show, Dallas.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you here, buddy. Now, I very seldom I ever have to go to notes on people that the whole deal, but I got to do that today because there's so much that we're going to miss if we don't do it, and we only got a limited amount of time to do this in. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go over to some notes I made by reading some things about you. You don't mind? It's all good. There ain't nothing bad about you. Yeah. All right, first of all, you're from Tennessee, I think, somewhere in Tennessee.
Northeast Tennessee, yes, Greenville, Tennessee.
Greenville. I don't think I've ever been in the Northeast. That would be up in toward the Sevierville, up in that area. Is that
farther east?
Farther east, okay.
Bristol.
Okay, know where Bristol is. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you now live in Birmingham or somewhere?
Yes, I do, Birmingham.
Okay, but we're going to talk about your military life. And you joined the Marine Corps one day. You just got crazy and decided I'm going to join the Marine Corps. How old was you to join?
17.
17. That's how old I was when I went in the Army. So you had to get somebody to sign for you, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I turned 17 or turned 18 in June.
Oh, okay. So you
July. I'm sorry.
Okay. So then you went. I'm going to take some of the things. Some of the interesting things I saw is one of the first things caught my eye. You were the orderly for Vice Admiral Ferian and Vice Admiral Sabin. I got pictures of some of that here. We'll go through that later on. But you was when I say orderly, I put /security because you also provided security when admirals are out, like.
Yes, we did.
Okay, so this is when they're out traveling. You're like part of their attaché that you just.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, and that's got to be because everywhere they got to go, you got to go, right?
Yes.
But you had a different responsibility. You had to make sure they got back and everything was taken care of, right?
That's true. Yes.
Okay. See, I always thought about in the Army, an orderly would be somebody who cleaned the day room and the mess hall. You know, you're the day room orderly, you know, or something. But when I saw that, I thought, but then it's the security. Not being in the Marine Corps, I didn't know what that meant.
It was mainly security, yes.
Mm-hmm. So you got to go where all with them, some of the places?
Mainly in the wintertime, we'd go on the Caribbean cruises to all of the islands.
Without having to pay all that?
Guantanamo Bay, yes.
Did you have all the food you can eat, like you do on these other cruises?
Absolutely, we did.
I don't know. I went over on a ship to Vietnam. We didn't have nothing but what they had in the mess hall. Man, but it was, I have to say, it was pretty good food. I don't know how they got them fresh watermelon. We've been out in the ocean for 28 days, you know, but they had them. Let's see, you went to a place called Cuba.
Yes, we did.
That was in what year?
Bay.
Oh, what year was that?
1954, 5, and 6.
Where were you folks at in 54 and 55? And then at this place, when I saw where you served there, I think of the FBI and all that stuff, the Quantico, Virginia. What did you do there?
We were at Marine Corps schools, and I ran the training aids for 5 field grade officers, and they presented a problem on a hypothetical war, helicopter development, how to win wars in Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam.
That was in what year would that be?
That was 7, 8, and 9.
Because I know at some point, you know, the first Cav went in and brought the helicopters in that up to that point had been used for lifting and carrying troops and stuff.
That's correct.
And finally tried to make weaponized aircraft out of them. But that was, And at Quantico, you ran some training for a fellow that, when I talk about my presidents, I always hold him as one of the best I ever thought was, and that's Dwight Eisenhower. You was working for him at that time.
I had the privilege of running his training aids in 1957 for his cabinet, and he gave a top secret clearance I had to have, or a cryptographic need to know.
What is a training aid? What was you saying? What does that mean in layman's terms?
You transpose slides and film strips onto a screen to show what the subject matter was.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that's understandable. We call them PowerPoints now, don't we?
Yes.
Heck yeah, that. But you got an emblem you got here today, and it's got Eisenhower's signature on that. Does that come from that same time period?
That Marine Corps emblem was on his podium
Okay.
during the presentation, and at the end I said, well, I might as well ask him if he'll sign that for me. And he did, and I still have that.
I saw that. That's no denying that's him. And I've seen that signature so many times because I went into '61. There was still a lot of Eisenhower hanging on that, even though it was with John Kennedy, you know. It was, and then you lucky devil, you got to go to Hawaii on the rifle range.
I did.
And that was, tell me what all that was about.
Well, I was a mediocre rifle shooter, and they needed help on the rifle and pistol team, and Gunner Terry, C.W.O. Terry, picked me up, and I started out as a chief clerk. And I worked hard, I snapped in, I stopped smoking, and I improved my scores to, in 1962 and 1963, I was a top enlisted shooter in the Marine Corps.
From mediocre to the top.
From mediocre.
Quit smoking.
I stopped smoking.
I didn't smoke till I went into service. I don't know what they did in the Marine Corps, but when we go on long marches, the platoon sergeant would say, smoking light is lit.
That's true.
And the smokers could go smoke. I was a non-smoker, I would pick up garbage. So I had the detail, and it hit me that in my rations was 4 cigarettes.
Yeah.
And those guys that smoking them 4 cigarettes got to break. They got to take a break. So like a fool, I started smoking. I smoked for 35 years. And I blamed them for it, but it wasn't their fault. It was just them long walks. I'd rather be sitting down and watch the other guys working, you know. But that's my story. And you trained with the 7th Marine Regiment. I know a little bit about them. That's at Camp Pendleton in California. And then you went over to Vietnam in '65. That was, I went in '66, so it was just getting wound up. Started like actually started '59, you know, with the visors and all that stuff. Eisenhower went.
In Laos and Cambodia, yes.
Yeah, but you went in '65.
65.
Where'd you go to
August.
when you landed there?
We landed at July 1965
You go over by ship or by plane?
by ship.
How many days?
Oh, I don't know.
A million?
Yes, a lot.
I tell you, people don't know what it's like till they sit in a hot vessel with the sun beating down on you and the radiating from the walls, claustrophobia, your little bunk at about that high. And in my case, we were in line to eat breakfast and get out and go to the PX, or we go to lunch, whichever way. We just we had a choice which we want to do, go to the PX or go eat lunch. So we was steady in a line or go see a movie that evening on the thing. We've covered a good bit of stuff. We hadn't really got into the meat of it. Come back, we're going to show you some pictures of things we've been talking about here. And stay where you are. Be right back with Dallas Rickard. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins. We're talking with Dallas Rickard, retired First Sergeant. And we talked about some things in the front part, the first part of the show. But I want to show you some of the things we talked about. We're talking about the emblem, the Marine Corps emblem that I call him General Eisenhower, but President Eisenhower signed for Dallas. And if you can see that, that's the emblem we're talking about. He didn't steal, no, he took it, and the President signed it for him. And we appreciate that. And we'll take this one down, and we'll go to the next slide, if we can. Give this to the floor manager there. And now we're going to bring up something that's very, very special, I think. And we didn't talk about this in the first part. But this is something that I've never seen anything like this. If I remember right, this is the flag that was presented to you by Queen
Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth
Yes.
after the death of John Kennedy. Is that
He
President
was
Kennedy?
flying on American embassy during the death of John Kennedy.
Okay. Was it because you were the head of the Marine detachment there?
I had taken my silent drill team to London to perform for the Queen,
Wow.
and she gave me this, presented me this flag.
Well, I think that's awesome. But we got some more things here that I want to show if we can get. Folks, this is not high tech, but it's a real deal. Now, this picture here, you see it up on the screen up there. You can see what we're talking about. Of course, that'd be you in the middle. Can you tell me who these two young fellows are there?
That's correct.
Who are them two guys?
This is General Pace.
Okay.
I was his first sergeant when he was a young captain. At,
He's a 4-star. I can't see from back
he's
here.
a 4-star.
And
He
the
was
other-
the first Marine that was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
And the other guy?
And the other one is General Jones. He was a 32nd Commandant, and then he went on to be the NATO commander.
Okay.
And I was also his first sergeant.
I ain't bad company there. Then we got another one here. We'll try to hold it
This
steady
is
as
a very
possible.
special picture with General Jones and myself.
That same General Jones there. Tell me why that's special.
Well, because of the inscription, what he said, and we were very special friends.
All right, let me just see if I can read. The First Sergeant Dallas Ricker on exploration and inspiration to the 32nd Marine
Commandant.
Corps. Simplify. General Jones, is it Jeff Jones? 32nd coming up.
James L.
That's pretty neat. That was what he wrote just to you. Now this one, I don't think anybody in the audience will have any problem understanding what that is. That's one of the things you don't want to get, and it's called a Purple Heart. But in reading on the history of you, I think you had opportunity to get about 3 or 4 more. Am I correct?
Yes, I did.
But you didn't because you don't want to stress your mama out.
I did not report it. I had the
The
Purple
mama
Hearts.
found out you're getting this, you know what it is.
Yes, she found out about this
Yeah.
one.
But she did. If you'd have thought about those others,
No, she did
yeah,
not.
like you was in a shredder or something. I know how mamas are. They can't take a joke.
Yes.
Who is this dude here?
This is my first real boss aboard ship, the USS Pocono flagship, Admiral Farian.
When I saw that picture first, I said, I bet that's a mean fellow. What'd you tell me?
Oh, it was docile. He
Real
was-
docile. Yeah. Isn't it something? Now this is, it's going to be hard for the audience to see, but in the last man in the back of that group there is Dallas. And this is where? In
This
Vietnam?
is Fort McNair, Virginia.
Fort McNair. Okay, that's up there where they have the honor guard for Arlington and all that stuff.
That's correct.
Well, what was that about, that ceremony there?
This was a ceremony for the peace signing of Vietnam, and this was a message and a parade for the president of South Vietnam.
Okay. Well, can you lay that there so we can get on with the show? I appreciate you bringing it because it's a lot better to show stuff than it is to sit there and talk about it. But somebody told me your room looked like you got a room that looks like a museum, if I'm correct. I got some things on mine, but mine goes in from Vietnam to Chubby Checker and Conway Twitty. You couldn't tell what I did by looking at mine, but it's nothing like yours. But I appreciate that. But anyhow, I remember hearing about the Starlight, and the Starlight was a operation. It was a prediction. Is that the one that was predicted a lot of casualties?
No, sir.
that's
Starlight
not-
was the first major operation that we had when we landed in August of 1965, and we had 360 Marines killed.
Yeah, I said there was predictions, but there would be hundreds killed.
This was Operation Piranha that followed
yeah,
that.
that followed it, wasn't it?
Yes, amphibious assault
See,
on the
people-
Bantam Peninsula.
People don't realize what it's like to lose, especially people if you're in charge of. You know, I was the NCO, you was the NCO, and you feel some responsibility. And I sit down with General Hal Moore, you know, from the Ia Drang, Battle of Ia Drang, and nobody hurts any more than that man for the loss of his men. I don't see how a family member could hurt any more than he does. But when we lose people like that, we kind of have a guilt feeling about we could have done this, could have done that. But you heat of the battle, you don't have that chance to sit down and do a PowerPoint presentation to come up with the best face. Now, there was an NVA, North Vietnamese Army attack on you, and the citation says that you organized and repelled a super attack from the NVA, there's 2 battalions, and hundreds of lives saved. You remember what I'm talking about there?
Yes, I do. I took out a 6-man outpost to detect. We had information from one of the young boys that I had captured previous to that. And the unit consisted of 300 NVA soldiers, the toughest that was in Vietnam. And of course, we detected that after we took small arms and RPGs, and we got back in the lines and alerted people. And the citation reads that we saved hundreds of lives.
But you didn't know there's that many when you first hit
No,
that.
we did not.
When you hit that wasp nest.
No, we did not.
When you was a young man, did you ever go out on the farm?
Yes.
You ever throw a corn cob up at a wasp nest just to get your cousin stung?
Hornets.
I've done that, but when you when General Moore, Colonel Moore at the time, when he went into Ia Drang Valley, they were wanting to test the enemy. Let's probe them and see when they flew over, you see that commo wire. Commo wire looks different than anything you see. Got that real slick plastic on it. They saw commo wire in the elephant grass, and they knew something suspicious because most times there's something on either end of it or something. But they went on anyhow, and they found out how bad that enemy was. The NVA was they weren't easy takings. And so you was wounded several times. We already got to that. And this is something I hated. Drill instructor. You was a drill instructor. You're the guy that made me walk like a duck and quack like a duck. Yeah. If you'd have been in the Army.
I went to drill instructor school in July 1966.
Yeah.
With 101 staff NCOs.
And what?
There was 101 staff NCOs that started at the school, and 30 graduated.
30 out of 101. I know if you're going to make your troops tough, you got to be tough to do that. And then you're stationed at An Hoa Forward Fire Base in Vietnam in the 69 to 70. What was anything relevant about that, or that was just where you're stationed?
I reported there, and most of the field grade officers and captains and lieutenants had been killed or medevaced because of wounds. And I was selected by the sergeant major to work in the colonel's command post. And it was, at that time, it was a major's billet. And I worked in there for about 10 months with him.
That was I saw that there was, when I was reading it, I saw something about An Hoa Fire Base, and I knew that there was something significant to that. And we've run out of time, but I got some stuff I was left here. So what I want to do is I normally would go to news that you can use. I'm going to skip over that, most of it, and come back. I want to talk more with these last few things. I don't want to leave it on the table. We're going to take a break, come back more with Dallas. So stay where you are. Get that pen. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. We're still talking with Dallas Rickard, and we couldn't get it all in the first segment, so I want to cover up some things. Dallas, Dallas is a retired first sergeant, by the way, in the Marine Corps, and when you was 1970, 1974 in the Marine Barracks, you wrote instruction courses. Briefly, what was that about?
I worked with the MCI company. The courses are written there, and then they're shipped into the field for the troops to learn about the subjects of the Marine Corps. Okay. And I wrote 2 of those courses.
This is the one that gets me. You went to the Ceremonial Guard Company. What was that about, Ceremonial Guard Company? I think I know what that is, but...
I supervised all the training of the Marines at the helipads, the body bearers of the individuals that buried the Marines that came home.
Oh, yeah.
And I was supervising the training of all the troops at Camp David, the retreat for the president.
Where did the remains come in from the Marine Corps? From
Dover.
Dover. That's where I was at, Dover, yes. Delaware. I'd pick up the Army up there. I didn't know what you did, but I had people who's never been involved in that don't know what we're talking about.
No,
they know you're supposed to try to do it here, but I would go from there to the families and bury them and go back and get another one. And that is awesome. I didn't know that's what you were doing there. So this, it's of course I see where you supervise the Marine bearers. Organized and supervised Marines that were at the White House. Who was there at the White House when you were doing that?
There was several different presidents from 70 to 74, or President Nixon was the main president.
You get any autographs of him?
I did not. The only thing I got was he invited me to this ceremony at Fort McNair.
That's right. He was a great president. He just messed up on that, little cover up. He did a lot of things.
He was an outstanding president.
I don't know where we'd be with China had it not been for his leadership on that. And now this one got me, the Super Bowl V. It's Super Bowl V?
Yes. At Miami.
And you did, what'd you do there? You didn't sing?
We took the silent drill team there, and of course they performed at halftime.
Wow. That's got to be something to hear the roar of the crowd in it.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Man, I'd like to take my track chair down there and go behind you.
Yeah, you'd be.
Now, I got to say something for the record. I didn't tell y'all this to start with. Most of you saw the track chair. You saw it on the other television station out of Birmingham. The guy that's responsible for getting my name out there to be the recipient of one of those chairs is this guy sitting at the table with me today. So a little bit of bias there, but when I found out about his story, I figured that we might have put it on here because I want people to see that veterans didn't just melt off into the community, that they had an interesting career, and I can't go into all the things he's done. And so after you got out of the service, you owned a security company. And this one, Jan Scruggs, is a friend of mine who built the Vietnam Wall. He helped me build a memorial here in Anderson, Alabama. Jan over the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. What'd you do with that?
My company had security on the building, when it came out of the ground, the platforms for the Vietnam Wall. For Scruggs.
That's amazing. It used to be the most visited memorial in Washington, D.C. And I think that World War II is giving it a run for its money right now. But people go to it and they don't even know what they're looking at. But when they see 58,000 plus names, every one of them represent a funeral. They get it.
Ken, during this time also, I had my company had security on both of President Reagan's inaugurals.
Well, let me ask you this. We got less than a minute. Today's soldiers, Marines, compared to yesterday, your day, what do you think? Give them A, B, D?
I really don't know. I see
What
I hear, and it's not good.
Yeah. Well, they've had a different political thing imposed upon them that they have to live by that you and I didn't. Thank God we didn't have to go. I appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you
I really
very
do. I've learned a lot about you, reading some of your bio, but seeing some of this today. I just hope everybody realizes we got good heroes out there in this country like you, Dallas Rickard. And we're gonna say adios. We're gonna go out today with a salute for all of those who help veterans, especially the homeless veterans. This guy's one of them, and we got to go. See you next week at Veterans Issues. Salute.